We shift gears here and welcome in our next guest. That's Doug Creutz, Senior Equity Research Analyst for TD Doug, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I know you specialize in media and entertainment, so we want to talk some video games. Now, maybe I'm showing my age a little bit, but it seems that the Fortnites, the Call of Duties still dominate this space. There's a lot of hype around this Grand Theft Auto film. And then there's these other games like Minecraft or even Super Mario that are brands that have just dominated for decades. How important is it to have one of these pieces of IP that is just like, it seems timeless?
Yeah, I mean, video games are characterized by some people as sort of a hit-driven business, and it is, but what we've seen is the hits can last an awfully long time. And you mentioned several brands that have lasted for 15, 20, even, in the case of Mario Brothers, 40 years plus. The longevity of this IP is incredible.
Yeah, so when we look at, I completely agree, and I'm going to show my age here because I was in complete agreement there with, what I think of as I think of, Call of Duty and Fortnite. But in regards to how tariffs could play a role right now on the film and gaming and just media industry, we'll call it. What right now is the expected impact here from still so many unknowns regarding tariffs?
Yeah, obviously there's just sort of the overall macro question, right? And leaving that aside, are there direct impacts from tariffs? The answer is largely no. These are digital goods and services. They're sort of outside of the tariff framework, which is probably a good thing for the U.S. because the U.S. is a massive net exporter of services, and therefore a trade war affecting services would probably be very negative for us. There are a few exceptions. Obviously, if you're talking about video game hardware, the consoles, there potentially are impacts there. It caused Nintendo to push back their pre-order date for the Switch 2. Microsoft just recently announced price increases for the Xbox. So there are some impacts happening there. And obviously, if you don't buy the hardware, it's hard to play the software. So there are some potential knock-on effects there, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
Most recently, the big news was the pushback of that Grand Theft Auto release. That's a game that I think there's a lot of hype around, clearly, and also a game that's had a long-term staying power with its last release, like over a decade. But so much has changed in the world of how these companies monetize their games, in-game purchases. And then recently, I don't know if Grand Theft Auto will fit this, but a lot of these companies are taking that IP, Mario Brothers, Minecraft, and they're turning them into film. So rather than it the other way around where it's like, hey, Star Wars successful media turns into video game, we're starting with the video game. How critical is that becoming a two-way street impacting these companies' opportunity?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Video games really have become a huge transmedia source of IP for media companies. You mentioned the Minecraft movie has been a massive success. A couple years ago, the Super Mario Brothers movie did really well. Last of Us has a very successful TV show on Max. We've now got a few generations, I can show my age, we've got a few generations of people who have grown up, comfortable with video games, engaged with video games, and seeing that IP come to the big screen it's a big draw. Right, we've seen other sort of big IP franchises like Marvel and Star Wars and some others struggle a bit recently as they go sort of through creative lulls. The video game IP hasn't been on the movie theater screens as much, and so when it comes, it feels new, but not so new that people don't know what they're going to get. And I think that's a really powerful combination that you're seeing with some of these films do so well.
Okay, so in regards to some of these films and the success, we have to talk about Disney and its success with Marvel. And actually, I will admit that it took me about 3 decades now, but I have finally watched start to finish every Marvel movie that has been released. So, is there going to be then any major impact from tariffs? And right now, just the ongoing turbulence in this market also impacted a name like Disney. That's such a huge conglomerate, but even outside of just the film industry, for media in its entirety.
Yeah, so, with Disney, again, direct tariff risk is very low. They do, I'm sure, import a lot of their toys from Asia, and those costs could go up, but that's a relatively small part of their business. I think it's more if there's overall macro turbulence, if we do head into a recession, which some people have been talking about, that has definite impacts on the advertising market. It has definite impacts on people's disposable income, their ability to go to the Disney parks, which are a relatively expensive experience. In the past, during recessions, the parks business has suffered. And so, we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm sure, as you know, it seems like the headlines are changing every day, an overly dynamic environment, as I like to call it. But there definitely is some risk on the table for the Disneys of the world. I'd say for the video game industry, it's less so. The video game industry is generally proven to be pretty recession resilient. I think it's a relatively cheaper form of entertainment. It's one that people may trade down to if they can't afford a vacation at Disney. They may still stay home and play, Fortnite or something like that.
That is true. And hey, if the economy, I mean, obviously those that are calling for a recession, it's like, hey, if the economy gets worse or better, it seems like no matter what, there's still space for those that want to be at home playing these games or want to be at home viewing films, or I guess maybe go to the theaters. As I do live with a gamer myself, so I do know that there's definitely still a healthy appetite for that entire world. But we so appreciate it. Doug Creutz, of course, Senior Equity Research Analyst and Media Entertainment at TD Cowen. We so appreciate it.